Our thesis is the responsibilities of sustainable farmers and corporate farmers over time to keep their businesses going and to protect the community from health issues from consuming hazardous foods.
In the United States and other parts of the world, livestock production is becoming increasingly dominated by concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs. In a CAFO, animals are crammed by the thousands or tens of thousands, often unable to breathe fresh air or see the sunlight. Over 50 billion food animals are raised and slaughtered every year, not including the massive quantities of farmed fish. Grazing and growing feed for livestock now occupies 70% of all agricultural land and over 30% of the ice-free terrestrial surface of the planet. If present trends continue, meat production is predicted to double between the turn of the 21st century and 2050. Yet already, the Earth is being overwhelmed by food animals that consume massive quantities of energy and resources, whose waste foul waterways and farmland, and when eaten excessively, degrade our health.
Well, here in the United States, people have the freedom to choose what they want to do and what they want to buy. So really, whatever people choose, I then expect them to make their opinion as a consumer. So if people are willing to buy lower grade things, then that's their choice, and it helps people on a budget. If people want to pay more for organic things, that's their choice too. So, I think there's a cultural thing with the farming and rural community that it's a shame that's going away. But at the same point, farming is very expensive and it's a pretty stressful job, so I can see why more and more people aren't. You have to have the regulations in place. And once again, bigger companies can do things cheaper typically. So once again, it comes down to what the consumers want.
Factory farming started with chickens and first appeared in 1926. It wasn't by design, but rather the result of an over-delivery of 450 chicks to a small farm. Instead of sending them back, the farmer kept them indoors through the winter and soon increased her flock to over 250,000. It wasn't until the early 1970s that the first giant animal factories appeared, and they were for egg production. In California, a farm began keeping 3 million hens in one locale, although the entire flock had to be destroyed due to rampant disease from keeping so many chickens so closely confined. That was just a minor setback, and by the early 2000s, some 62 companies were keeping over 1 million or more hens and cow mane, and had 20 million chickens, the largest by far.
I'm against factory farming because if only a couple of places have control over everything, it creates a monopoly. Then it'll be one company that controls everything, and if that company were to crash for some reason, then we're out of a food supply.
Viruses or bacteria possible to be transmitted from animals to humans are called zoonotic diseases. These include swine flu, avian flu, and mad cow disease. Swine flu spreads faster between pigs when they are tightly enclosed, like in a factory farm. After the hog factories had become widely established in North Carolina and other areas of the United States, researchers found that genetic material from avian flu had found its way into the mix. These are the animal factories that squeeze thousands of hogs into closely confined quarters for their entire lives. As happened in the U.S., the hog CAFOs demand ever cheaper labor, cheaper food, cheaper operating costs, cheaper everything. The result in Mexico has mirrored the results in the U.S., namely traditional small farms driven out of business and mega-sized farm factories taking over.
Scientists around the world have feared that industrial hog factory farms could become breeding grounds for new infectious organisms that could infect humans and spread quickly throughout the general population. The new strain of swine flu that was sickening and killing people had, for the first time, components of human flu virus, bird flu, and 2 types of swine flu virus. CAFO workers could serve as the zoonotic disease bridge from factory farm to rural community populations, and then spread throughout the country via commercial air, rail, and automobile travel. Factory farming is clearly dangerous to humanity.
Studies have also shown that dairy products from organically raised animals are healthier than conventionally produced dairy products. In one study, the content of healthy omega-3 fatty acids and antioxidants were significantly higher in organically produced milk. Animals raised organically are not given antibiotics and are required to be grazed on organically managed pasture land or fed organically grown feed.
People think about the health of their own body, but organics also healthier for the larger ecosystem. And there are more people who are politically motivated to have a cleaner ecosystem.
The late 1600s, there were about 500 million or so humans on the Earth. By the early 1800s, we had doubled to about 1 billion. Fast forwarding to 1930, we see another doubling to 2 billion. In 2012, we hit a large 7 billion. At the current rate of reproduction, by 2050, there's a good chance we will be at over 10 billion of us fighting for space and food. Just feeding some people is one thing. However, feeding them nutritious, health-sustaining food is something else.
With farming, you have all sorts of competition, but the main trouble occurs when the U.S. government and the state of Colorado subsidize or just give money to these larger farms. And so a small farmer, which gets no subsidy, has to sell at a higher price. For example, with the price of eggs, you can get eggs at the store from a factory farm for $1 a dozen. But that is because the U.S. government and the state of Colorado are paying upwards of $3 to $4 a dozen for those eggs. So you can't compete against that. And then you also have Mexico and the nation of Canada. They are also subsidizing their farmers and their workers. They don't require minimum wages. So you can grow tomatoes in Mexico at half the cost of growing them here. And you can't compete with that. I can tell you I'm the very last vegetable farmer in 5 counties out here. Yep, and I'm going out of business this year. And quite frankly, there's not many of us left. So we are going to import all of our food from other countries. And a lot of these large factory farms are owned by foreign interests. So we no longer will produce our own food. And the U.S. government can no longer afford to pay $10 a gallon for milk and $3 a dozen for eggs. What's going to happen at the store when suddenly people have to start spending that much for food? It's going to hurt them because they can't adjust that fast. Wages will not suddenly go up 10 times. The living will go up, and people will lose their homes, and people will go hungry, and there will be a problem. It really just depends on our character. I hope people are not violent, but hungry people do stupid things. Well, you can't keep paying forever. In ancient Rome, they paid for bread for the people. They did the exact same thing.